Do you find that even though you've got more time in the era of stay at home, work from home, whatever it is you're doing at home, that even though you've got a backlog of games that you've been wanting to play for the longest time, that you just keep going back to the same game over and over and over again, and you don't really ever branch out? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about today, but first, coffee. Alright, today's coffee is Guatemala Antigua. The reason I was thinking about this topic is probably like yourselves. I've been spending my time, getting my work done, but also branching out, playing some games, and also as it's Golden Week in Japan, there's a large number of sales, trying to branch out to a number of different games. And I have actually kind of succeeded, but that's probably because I have a YouTube channel. And so thinking about branching into new games makes sense because then I can make new videos. I do find when I'm not specifically trying to make a video that I just gravitate to the same game over and over and over again. And honestly, since, last year I was playing BlazBlue Cross Tag and Street Fighter. But then this year when Granblue Fantasy Versus came out, I ended up just playing Granblue for the past 3 months really. March, April, May. So it's been about 3 months. In fact, I think today it's exactly 3 months of nothing but Granblue Fantasy Versus, and it's been because of the videos that I've started to finally branch back out into trying new games and other stuff. But what I kept finding was happening was, even though I would get to the weekend and it's like, I finally have a day free to maybe draw some art or play some games on my backlog or open up my Steam library, and I'll look at my Steam library and just there's this list of games. I was like, I don't want to play any of these games. And it's because even though I want to play some new games, I can't bring myself to do it. So I was trying to figure out, is it just the idea of playing new games that I like, but I don't actually like playing new games? Or is that I like to play new games, but something has got into my mind and taken control? It's like, even though you want to play a new game, you're just going to play the same old game today. It's like, Gremlin, get out of my brain. So I started to think about the games that I do play. And I started to go back in time as well. So like when I was a kid, what games did I really enjoy playing? And back then, maybe especially with fighting games, like a new fighting game, new version of a fighting game would come out like every year. It was like Street Fighter Alpha this year, and then a year and a half later, Street Fighter Alpha 2, and then Alpha 3. There was always a new game to jump onto. And so unlike these days where it's like Street Fighter 5 is going to be here for the next 4 years, it was okay back then. The game publishers kind of told you when you were supposed to move on to a different game back then. But now that like games are going to last longer and they're trying to use DLC to expand the span of a single game and then just constantly update it, I just generally found that I was gravitating to the same game, not because I thought it was fun and there was a lot of stuff to do, but just because it was like my default. I've got into this default behavior and I'm not playing the game for fun. I'm not playing the game to discover new experiences, and even though I want to immerse myself in this world of characters, I end up on Twitter and YouTube. And even sometimes when I've got this whole day free to like play some games, just sit there on my phone. It's like, oh, I'm just going to scroll around on Twitter, check for some art on Pixiv, or maybe someone's made a video about the new character on YouTube. And that's when it hit me that most of the time that I'm searching for my favorite characters or searching for my favorite worlds and my favorite stories, instead of going back into the game itself to experience those things, I was heavily reliant on anything that wasn't the game. And I guess you can call that the meta, right? And a big part of that change recently has been Animal Crossing. So with Animal Crossing, instead of watching other people play Animal Crossing, which I understand is a big thing as well, I kept thinking about the fact like, well, if I switch on Animal Crossing now, I could, water the flowers, I can go pay some extra money to that guy Tom Nook, so that I can build the new shop or expand the size of my shop or expand the size of my house or build a bridge or fly to another island. It just felt like there was more that I could do within the game to continue enjoying the game. So I started thinking about the games that I do play, which are, for example, Granblue Fantasy Versus or Street Fighter 5 or BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle. And I really love these characters, but I just realized that if I want to experience more of Granblue Fantasy, what do? Well, I kind of play RPG mode. After you play RPG mode for a little while, it starts to feel a bit grindy, and you're like, okay, maybe I'll watch the anime, but then you watch the anime, it's like, there's like, the story is completely pointless, and I'm not really invested in it. So maybe I'll play the mobile game, but they start playing the mobile game, it's like, I don't like this game. It's really grindy, and I don't know, I feel like I'm just going through the motions, going through the steps, and although I think Granblue Fantasy does a better job than a lot of other games in this task of making this grindy thing kind of interesting, it doesn't make me keep wanting to jump back into the game. And so I started to realize, what are the things in my life that I do keep going back to? And it always ends up being YouTube, Twitter. YouTube, Twitter. And I wonder if this has ever happened to you, where you've actually been sifting through Twitter and you're like, okay, I've really got to get off this app. You close the app and you look at your home screen like, what else can I do on my phone? Oh, look, there's Twitter. And then you open up Twitter again. I think I've probably talked about this in a previous coffee video, but this just keeps happening to me. It's just like, I want to get off Twitter, close it. Hey, what's on Twitter? It's like, what? 50 milliseconds ago, you were just trying to escape the 20 minutes that you just spent on Twitter. And the same thing happens with YouTube. It's like, you know what? I really need to get off YouTube. But then I close the app and then I open up my PC and then I click on Chrome and click on my favorites and hey, I'm back on YouTube, but just now on a larger screen than before. It's like, shut down the PC, pick up my iPad. Maybe I'll draw a picture. But I wonder if there's anything fun on YouTube. I'm stuck in this loop. How do I get out of it? And I started to realize that YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all of these platforms have figured out how to do something that video games really are not doing. And that's keeping you inside the app. Now, mobile phone games, on the other hand, seem to have done this a really great job, even though the games tend to be not that interesting, even though the stories tend to be kind of cliched, and they're just the same story over and over and over again, same game mechanic over and over again. Jump in the game, click auto battle, wait, collect the points, go into the battle, click auto, wait for the points, and then after maybe a day and a half, I've got enough points to do 10 gacha at a time, and then luckily I got, a super rare, but I really wanted the ultra rare, maybe I'll just wait another day and a half of just clicking the same button over and over again. It's grindy, it's gacha. This is the mobile phone game world, and yet we keep clicking on it, and we keep going back in. Now, this is not a time to discuss the real psychology of why this is happening. There's plenty to talk about in terms of motivation, and perhaps it's rewarding you for certain things. And so even though you're not finding it fun, you're not doing it for the fun of doing it, you're doing it because you think there's going to be a reward at the end of it. And once you've tasted the reward, you just can't help but think that by grinding again, maybe you'll get that reward again. That's a completely different topic for another time. But let's go get the hot water. So I started to think about all the games or experiences in my life, the apps on my phone that make me keep wanting to come back for more. And although I do consider myself, a fighting gamer, so I know the idea of ranking up. And so I'm into the habit of playing a game, learning a bit more, trying to rank up, practicing things, going back into the lab, going to training mode, and then jumping back online, testing those theories. I'm not amazing at it, but I do understand the general concept, right? But not everyone is a fighting gamer. And so how do you get your friends to enjoy fighting games or to be as obsessed with fighting games as you are? And I really started to think about it. Well, if I weren't into fighting games, I would only really want to jump into Street Fighter again if I felt like something was going on. A bit like when you want to go down the pub. I think people get into a habit of going to the pub to go and have a beer or have a soft drink, whatever it is they're doing, because they think everyone is there. They think all their friends are hanging out at the pub, having a chat, and it's like that fear of missing out, FOMO. And you go, okay, well, I'm not doing anything tonight. I guess I could stay in, I could do my homework, or I could do my taxes, or I can get some drawing done, or I could do some things that I've been wanting to do for a long time. But in the end, you go for your default. And I was thinking, I would go back to Street Fighter, and to be honest, I haven't. Since February 6th, when Grand Blue Fantasy Versus came out, I haven't been back to Street Fighter. It's because I really don't think anything's going on. I started to realize the reason I was enjoying Street Fighter V to start with was a whole lot of stuff that wasn't the game. It was the meta aspects of Street Fighter V. It was the tournaments. I found it fun that famous people were playing the game, doing better. I could root for them. I could watch the tournaments and hope that my favorite player won. There were new characters coming out. There were new costumes coming out. There were new stages coming out. And it was the meta that made me think that something was still going on in the game. I became reliant on those aspects of the game that are not the game. And when those aspects stopped coming out, when they stopped making as much DLC, fewer characters, almost no characters coming out in Street Fighter V. There's fewer stages, fewer tournaments to talk about. And I was like, we can't keep relying on the community aspect only just to keep a game alive, because it's almost like dropping the ball a bit as the publisher if you really want your game to survive. And it seems that in this day and age, you can't just make a game and then take all the money and then that's it. It seems that to keep these games going, in order to have enough money and budget to make them at all, you have to prove to your investors that the game is going to succeed for 3 years, or for 4 years, or for 5 years, or if you're making a games console, it needs to seem like it's going to last for like 10 years. These are investments, and you have to prove to people, I guess, boards of directors and investors, that it's worth investing this money in this project, right? It's like, we just want a new Guilty Gear. That's not going to be good enough when you're talking to the investors. You have to prove that the money is going to come in. And if the meta can't be trusted, for example, not because people don't want to do tournaments, but because, for example, right now, even if you wanted to do a tournament, you can't, because there's a virus situation. It's literally dangerous to go out, not only for yourself, but if you go out and you spend time, for example, taking part in a tournament or running a tournament, you endanger the lives of yourself, your friends, your family, all the people who come. And then if anyone picks up the virus at your event, when they go home, they potentially spread the virus to people in their houses. And if they live with grandparents, those people are particularly at risk. So there's large high-risk groups, people who have respiratory illnesses, immunocompromised categories of people. And so basically, it's not that the community can't be trusted, but at any one point, we have to realize that maybe the publisher has more responsibility to keep people playing the game and not just throwing it out there and hoping that the community makes the game stay alive. Even though definitely the community is the reason why probably a large number of us stay, because it's fun to make new friends playing this game. It's fun to challenge ourselves against other human opponents. Definitely for fighting games, the human aspect is really, really important, but publishers can do so much more to get people to continue playing the game without just leaving it at, we made the game, all right, please go and make my game a success so that we can continue to release DLC and make money off it. So if the answer is not just DLC, and that's a complete different topic for another time, if the answer isn't just continue to make DLC characters, because actually that's kind of frustrating, because it actually, I think it makes it harder for new people to pick up the game, because you release Season Pass 3 and there's a new character in it called, I don't know, Seth, Gil, or Kage, and people go, oh, sweet, I want to play that character. Oh, but now I have to buy the base game, and Season 1, and Season 2 pass, and Season 3 pass, and the Season 4 pass, and if I don't buy all the passes, then I won't have the complete version of the game, and it really bugs a lot of people to not have the complete version of the game. As much as a lot of us who play certain games like this, like, for example, Street Fighter or Grand Blue Fantasy, even though a lot of us are fine with only owning our main character and that's it, a large majority of people will look at the product on the Steam page or on the PlayStation Network page and go, okay, I want to play that one character, but how much does it cost to actually own this game? It's about $130. And not every company has been coming out with bundles that actually reduce the price of the base game so that people have an easier way of getting into purchasing it at a lower price, even though they only want one character from Season 4. All right, let's try some of this Guatemala Antigua. Big fan of this variety of coffee. Made myself a large mug today using my Racing Miku 2018 mug. Big fan of this design. I think it's pretty cute. Matches my t-shirt. Tastes like chalk. So I was really thinking about how video games, and I'm not only talking about fighting games. Really, Animal Crossing was one of the games that really opened my eyes to this whole topic, and the fact that I have no issue with jumping back into Animal Crossing. It's like, maybe I'll play a bit of Animal Crossing, and it's so easy. There's no friction, there's no object in the way of me jumping into another session of Animal Crossing. But with Street Fighter V, right, so I stopped playing it for 3 months, and why am I having so much trouble bringing myself to play it again? It's because I don't feel like anything's going on there. I love Ryu, I love Ken, I love Sakura, I love Chun-Li, I love Blanca, I love these characters, but I feel like if I want to enjoy more Street Fighter stuff, I can actually just go on to, I don't know, Pixiv or DeviantArt or go on Twitter or join a Discord community group. I can chat and talk about art that people have been drawing of the characters, or I can go on YouTube and watch some parody videos, or I can go on Twitter and just check out some pros who've maybe been playing it. But it's like can't really be bothered to jump in and actually play the game myself. And to make the game succeed, it seems that you can't just sell it and have done with it. Like, you need to keep the player base high so that more people think that it's worth investing in the game, and just all these aspects. Selling the game at the start, continuing to get money from DLC, having a large player base. This is what you call like a healthy environment for this game. And to continue to have a healthy environment for the game, you got to get people to continue playing the game. That's definitely one of the most important parts. But if it's just like, okay, I bought the game, I like Street Fighter, but I only booted it up like once in the past 3 months, that's not what I would call a healthy environment for engagement with this game. But I started to think, what would make me want to boot this game back up and play it? And I started to realize it's the mini games. It's the menu screen. And when I think about YouTube, I know that when I open it up, even though it will have the same interface as before, there's going to be a video I've probably not seen yet, and I'm probably going to want to watch it. I probably won't 100% enjoy it. I probably won't 100% agree with the stupid things that this YouTuber is saying in this video, like you may be thinking right now. But I know that I would rather do this on my phone, on YouTube, than actually going into a game and actually putting in effort into labbing new combos, going into training mode and just familiarizing myself with systems, going online, experiencing the stress of losing again, potentially putting my rank on the line and potentially ranking down because I haven't been practicing a lot recently. So many things go through my mind before I turn on the game that I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll just go back to my default, which is Granblue, because there's so much friction to getting back into the game. But if Granblue is my main game, and Street Fighter is the game that I think about going back to, but I just can't be bothered to go back to, what would get me back into it would definitely be mini games. And not just mini games, but the menu system has to be as enticing as YouTube. I don't press any buttons when I get into YouTube. Literally, once the app has been launched, that's the screen. And already 2 videos plus an ad showing me stuff that I potentially want to buy, stuff that I potentially want to watch. Open up Twitter. I know that even if if that same daft fool saying that same stupid thing, I can just scroll down and move on to someone else, or I can click mute, or I can follow someone new, or I can search for something that I haven't searched before, or I can think about, or I can find out what's going on in the world of gaming news, or I can find out what's going on with the news on the virus situation. I just know there's gonna be something to do. But when I think about booting up Street Fighter V, I'm like, well, what could possibly have changed here? And it's like, well, in 4 years, what have they changed on the home screen? It's gold. That's all that's changed in Street Fighter V. Of course, underneath, they've been supposedly working on the netcode. There's now an arcade mode, which it took like 2.5 years before they released an arcade mode. But so often, the experience and the memory of playing that game is booting it up and nothing's changed. And that makes me reflect on how I'm spending my life, how I'm spending my time. It's like, this game hasn't changed. I haven't changed. I'm not developing. I'm not going anywhere. But when I'm on YouTube, I open up the app and it's like, whoa, I learned something new about the virus situation today. Oh, I figured out how to maybe make better thumbnails today. Oh, I found out how to have a better diet today. There's a million things that just, even though I don't know what I'm looking for on YouTube, I know that if I boot the app up, something will happen. There will be something to do. If my love for Street Fighter didn't mean that I end up on Pixiv or DeviantArt looking for art of characters that I think are cool, or on Twitter finding people who are talking about Street Fighter or posting videos of stuff that they've made from it, if they wanted to keep me in the game, what if there were more mini games? And I've spoken about this before. Like with Street Fighter, I really think it would be great if there was a RPG mode, a bit like Granblue Versus. You could walk around as your character, and every now and then you'd be playing standard RPG mode, but then it would go boom, now you're in versus mode and you have to play a proper Street Fighter match. But then you could also go into a local shop, you can buy a new bandana, or maybe if I could mix and match the costumes that Ryu wears, and I could jump in a car, Grand Theft Auto style, go somewhere. And I'm not saying that you have to build an entire open world into these games. This could all be done in 8-bit graphics. This could be done in 16-bit graphics. This could be done in text. There could be a place on the menu that has fan fictions or something. And actually, I think Vesper talked about this on a stream once. He was like, wouldn't it be great if they actually had a part of the menu screen dedicated to community content? And that is a cheap, free way to keep people inside the game. Wow, it's funny that I've just remembered that, because that's exactly what this topic was all about, is getting people to stay in the game. And it doesn't have to cost the company a lot of money. I think investing some money in mini games like Tekken Bowl, or maybe a time attack mode where you just destroy cars in Street Fighter. That's been a thing since Street Fighter 2, destroying a car. Why isn't that a massive mini game in the game on Street Fighter 5, just on the main menu? You could just click destroy cars, and there's like 6 or 7 different kinds of cars that you can destroy. Honestly, I could go onto the Unity web store right now and I could download free 3D models of some cars and just dump them in the game. And even if they look trash, it doesn't matter. You're just going to destroy these cars. They don't have to be the highest resolution 3D models of all time. Highest polygon counts. Basic, you know what I mean. But instead, our favorite developers and our favorite publishers are dropping the ball. If I want to experience more Guilty Gear, I end up on the Discord app. If I want to experience more BlazBlue characters, I end up in DeviantArt. If I want to explore more Smash and memes, I end up on YouTube searching for videos. Every time I want more of this thing that I love, I end up in an app or a game that is not the actual game. And if keeping a game alive means keeping the player base high for potentially not just 1 year, but 2, but 3, but maybe 4 or 5 years, then you need to find ways to keep people within the game. Like the Switch has a touch screen. What if there was a place that you could trace pictures of Ryu's face and learn how to draw his eyes, or maybe learn how to draw chibi versions of Sakura or something? That's a cheap minigame that wouldn't take very long. Wasn't that was actually a game for the Nintendo 3DS. What was it called? Art with Pikachu. There was something where you could learn how to draw Pokemon characters. When Sonic Mania came out, I remember in the middle of one of the levels, there's actually a bit where you play Puyo Puyo. It's called Mean Bean Machine. You're playing a complete puzzle game. Like, that game is intact and it functions. You can play proper Puyo Puyo in the middle of a Sonic level. I just keep thinking about it, and Animal Crossing is getting it right. And my favorite franchises, Street Fighter, BlazBlue, Guilty Gear, Under Night In-Birth, they're all focusing so hard on how do we get people to enjoy the main game. And the answers are things like rollback netcode, or better graphics, or lower graphics but more functions, or fewer moves, or simplified combos, or auto combos. And we're so obsessed with the main game. And although I agree that maybe the rollback thing is important, we should probably try to implement as many rollback netcode into as many games as possible. That's a completely different discussion. I really want to suggest that it's not just the main game that you have to work on. It really could be the package. And Street Fighter V as a package is kind of boring. I can go in, I can play ranked, and if no one's on ranked, I have to find friends to do a battle lounge with. I don't want to play arcade mode anymore because it's not doing me any good. Like, apart from honing your reactions to when somebody jumps in on you, it's just not the same as playing a human player, because when you play a human player, you learn the mind games. You trick them into jumping at the wrong time. You trick them into walking forwards at the wrong time. You trick them into trying to tech a throw when you're actually doing a dragon punch or something. Whatever it is, fighting games, it's very difficult to escape from the fact that you need other human people in the game playing it. So instead of trying to obsess over how to amend the game systems so that more people get obsessed and play with it, why don't you focus on creating a package which is a good game? More Tekken Bowl, more Destroy the Car modes, more RPG modes, more community pages that show fan fictions, more community pages that show art that people have drawn, more dating elements, like even the game that I was playing before, Gothic wa Maho Otome. Like, essentially it's a scrolling shoot 'em up game. Like, you're a little plane and you're scrolling through the screen and you're shooting Space Invaders style, but they keep you in the game because when you're not playing the main game, you're also running the dating sim. And it's like you click go on a date and it takes like a day. You can set it to 2 hours, or you can set it for 8 hours. You can set the date to be, I don't know, a whole day. And the date will be finished when you turn the app on again the following day. So many ways to do stuff in the game, even when the game is off. So it's like, it's on your mind. Oh yeah, I have to make sure I log back into Animal Crossing because I said that I would show up to Bill's birthday party and in some house on a random island somewhere else. And he's not even a real person. He's artificial intelligence. He's a programmed NPC, a non-player character. But it's on your mind. You switch Animal Crossing off and you're still thinking about it. I wonder if my flowers have all died. I wonder if maybe because I planted the red flower next to the white flower, I wonder if a pink one has shown up next to it. I wonder if I can finally build my shop now. I wonder if I go fishing now, I can finally get a shark or I can get a turtle. There's so many things that might happen if I log back into the game. But if I log back into Under Night In-Birth, honestly, because I know that there's probably no one online nearby me playing, and I'll just sit there for an hour waiting for a match. What if the experience was, if I switch on Under Night In-Birth, I could go to the jukebox area, I could walk around as Seth, I can maybe change my jacket, I can jump in a car GTA style and drive to some other character's house, I can read some more of the stories, I can check out some of the community tab and get some art. Like, right now, things like that, meta stuff, it happens outside the game, on the PSN community page, on the Steam community page. And even though that keeps people on Steam, we need to keep people in the game. Because if they're sitting around on the Steam community page, it's not going to say, oh, a ranked match has shown up. You have to have ranked match in like queuing up mode. And that can't happen when the game is off. But say, for example, instead of rebooting Super Puzzle Fighter 2 as a completely separate mobile game, which is nothing like the original Puzzle Fighter, instead of setting up Super Puzzle Fighter 2 as a game featuring Airu, the monkey or the cat from Monster Hunter, why don't you just put Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo in Street Fighter V as a mini-game? Then you could put 2D versions of Kage, Gil, Seth, Poison, just put them in to Super Puzzle Fighter 2. They could even be DLC, I don't even mind. And while I'm playing Super Puzzle Fighter, which I'm not super into, like I've always loved the game, but I don't practice it at all, but it's fun to like play as Dan because you know that if you send an attack over, all the puzzle blocks, all those garbage blocks are going to come down. They're all going to be the same color and eventually they're all going to come back at you. That's hilarious. And then, hey, a new match is coming your way. We've got platform genres, we've got driving genres, we've got puzzle genres, we've got escape room genres. So many cheap mini-games, Space Invaders, shoot 'em ups. Honestly, it worked in Splatoon. So many ideas like this that just keep you in the game. I'm going to play Splatoon and I'm not going to feel like it's a chore waiting for team members to show up because in the original Splatoon, it had that little version of Space Invaders. And I can't even remember. You were like a squid and you were just shooting at all the other squids that were coming towards you. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is games have gone the way of sports and we started to think of them only as the tool that the community had been using them as. The community sees a game come out and they're like, we could use that for a tournament. Tetris comes out. We could use that for a tournament. Crazy Taxi comes out. We could use that for a tournament. The fighting gamer mindset is so competitive that it's just like anything it sees. Rock, paper, scissors? We could do that as a tournament. Draw a picture of Sakura? We could do that as a tournament. Anything that can be done by two people either taking turns or simultaneously. I think the fighting gamer mindset goes, let's find a way to make it competitive and turn it into a tournament. But at some point along the way, publishers were like, okay, so you use our game as a tournament tool, so we're just going to make tournament tools for you. And they're delivering us these things, which are these empty husks where you log in and do what they think we would already have done with their game. But really what actually happened was games were interesting before. They had character before. They had mini games before. They had secrets before. They had cheat codes before. There were Easter eggs built into these games. And we thought, this game is so hilariously fun. Why don't we make it a tournament? But the games are devoid of that stuff now. I guess we still got Tekken Bowl with Tekken, but Street Fighter, what's it got as an extra mode apart from going online and playing against people? You've got arcade mode, which is essentially not going online, but you're just playing against the computer, which is not quite as fun. Survival mode, which is the same thing, but instead of 3 rounds, if you die once, you die forever. The survival mode ends. I guess the past week of exploring other games, because I've been playing some RPGs, I've been playing some scrolling shooters, been playing some Animal Crossing, and what has really become clear to me is that fighting games, although of course the game system is important. I really appreciate that Grand Blue Fantasy Versus has like one button specials and target combos, because as much as I love the games that have 3 different forms of burst and faultless defense and air dashing and all sorts of stuff, that's fine, but that's for a certain kind of player. But definitely a game that's simple like Grand Blue Versus works really well for me. I just don't want all games to end up being simple like Grand Blue Versus, because then that would be quite boring. But there's a game for everyone. It's just, I wish that I actually wanted to jump into these games without the ranked grind. If I didn't have the self-motivation to want to get better at the game so that I can show up to locals again and be stronger, or show up to a tournament next time and not go 0-2. If I didn't have these meta aspects of the game built in it for myself, then I wouldn't bother jumping into the game ever again, to be quite honest. But just like the apps on my phone, I know that there's always going to be something to watch. If I go on Twitter, I know there's always going to be something that I can find and bookmark, or I can send to a friend. I can copy the link to the tweet, send it to someone who finds it interesting, or I could follow someone new, or I can click like on somebody's post. Apps and games that know what's going on, they're like the pub. They know that their game needs to be a hub like the pub that you can go to, meet people, and you know something will happen. Even if you don't know what's going to happen, you know something's going to happen. You go to the pub, you might meet the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with. You might just meet some person that you just like, and they might punch you in the face. You may get into a fight. You may end up throwing up outside because you drank too much. There's so many things that could happen. But at least it's possible. When you're sitting at home, like, well, nothing's going to happen to me if I sit at home. But if I go to the pub, I don't know, someone might get in a fight. Could watch that. That might be fun. That might be exciting. Right now, as much as I loved Street Fighter V, and I played it for the past 2 years on stream, and I was making various videos on the YouTube channel, right now I haven't played it since other games have come out, and I'm finding it very difficult to motivate myself to go back into the game. And it's because I don't feel like there would be anything to do. And it's like, if I really want to go back to it, I need to be serious. If I'm going to turn that game on, I need to know that I'm going to spend every day playing it for at least half an hour or an hour, so that I actually improve at the game, understand the frame data, study. Honestly, this game, because of the numbers aspect of it, it's almost like if you don't know the frame data, you don't have to know it very specifically, but to a certain extent, if you don't really understand how the frame data works and the different, which moves are plus and which moves are minus, then it's almost like it's not even really any point in going to the match anymore. It's just like, yeah, well, I didn't know that matchup, and I don't know that matchup. It's just like, if only there were more ways to enjoy these games casually. Because I think, realistically speaking, we're busy people. We're sitting at home, staying at home, working from home. Actually, there's no excuse. We got plenty of time. But on a serious note, catering for people who want to casually enjoy your game is where we're missing out, because the core individuals who keep the games alive, that's really great and that's really nice of them, but there's such a limited number of them that catering to the people who just want to hang out in the game, play a bit of Puzzle Fighter, and then suddenly, here comes a new match. I really wonder if that could be the key to getting more people into the game. And then it could actually say concurrent players on Steam instead of being 300 people or 16 people. It could be 2,000 people are playing. Okay, maybe 1,800 of them are playing RPG mode, but if you set it that you could always have ranked mode being queued up, you could set up ranked matches with people who were only playing RPG mode, not because they like the RPG mode, but just because, I don't know, I like hearing Gran's voice, I like hearing Jita's voice, I like hearing Zoe's voice, I like hearing these characters chat to each other, and, oh look, a new match has come in, yeah, I'll play a match, okay, I lost, whatever, we'll go back to RPG mode. So essentially, that's all I really wanted to say, is that I really think that probably the key to the future success of these games, especially if they're trying to make games that last more than a month, more than a few months, more than a single year, maybe games that need to last for 4 or 5 years. And if you want to have these games which are really high quality, then investors need to believe that the game is going to last 5 years, because then they're going to invest enough money to make a game which has the quality, the visual quality, and the mechanics, and everything built into it that are required for a game that's going to last a long time. It takes money to do those things. And I think just pushing it a little bit further and investing in the way that your menu system works, keeping people in the app, even if it's to just look at fan fiction or art, or to play a minigame like Puzzle Fighter, or Destroy the Car, or Tekken Bowl, or RPG mode, or Open World Quest, or go for a drive, or change the clothing of your characters, walk around this little virtual world that doesn't do anything. There are so many ways that you could keep people in the game, and that increases the number of concurrent players, and that definitely affects when people are choosing whether to buy your game or not. If they go on Steam charts and it says 5 concurrent players, it's going to be difficult to sell that game. Doesn't matter how much DLC you start adding to it. Anyway, that's what I think, but what do you think? Do you think that games really need these extra features, or that they should spend all of their money and all their time honing on the main game aspect and not worrying about all these frivolous extras that I'm thinking of? Let me know in the comments section below. Don't forget, if you want to check me out while I'm streaming, I do play games like Granblue Fantasy Versus. Recently, I've been starting to stream 2 games every stream. I'll stream something like kind of new or something I don't play very often, and then the second half of the stream I'll play Granblue Fantasy Versus. The link for the Twitch stream is below, and if you want to get notifications when the stream goes live, you can follow me on Twitter. You can also join the Nihongo Gamer Discord, where we chat about gear, Japan, art, life, the world, metaphysical things, and everything else. And if you're not already, remember to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this one, and video games and unboxings and just chat and coffee. See you in the next video.